In this episode of Talking About Orks, we're going over the Truck. The iconic Truck has been part of the Ork army for a very long time, and it's still a playable unit, even if it doesn't have the topping competitiveness it used to have. So the Truck is a vehicle. It is a single model equipped with a big shooter. It has movement starting at 12 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill 5, strength 6, wounds 10, 3 attacks, leadership 6, and a 4-up save. The only options, it may take a wrecking ball or grab a claw, and it may take a stick bomb chucker. And since the weapon skill is still stuck at 5+ no matter what you do, it's probably not worth spending the extra points on those close combat weapons. I mean, but the wrecking ball is like 3 points, so if you really want to, it's not going to be a big deal. It'll at least give it some punch in close combat. It has Daka Daka Daka. Notice it does not have Here We Go. It's open topped, which means models embarked can shoot in their shooting phase. And blah blah blah, measure from the range any part of the vehicle to its range, etc. Of course, you can't overwatch. It's only in the shooting phase. It's very specific about that. And if it's like in close combat, like in combat, they can't shoot out of it unless they have pistols, just like any other unit. So the passengers have the same restrictions as the vehicle itself, which also include for moving and firing heavy weapons. Ramshackle, this is probably its best role, which still needs some work. Ramshackle, roll a d6 each time the model suffers damage from an attack that has a damage characteristic more than 1. On a 6, reduce the damage caused by the attack to 1. And according to the facts, this does not affect mortal wounds, so something like a railgun or a opponent's shock attack gun that does mortal wounds in addition to normal damage, you can't ramshackle the mortal wounds. It needs to be better, to be honest. I'm not exactly sure what could be done. Maybe make it on 4+ or 5+, or make it like the old rule where it was just a 6-up invul save. That would be really good. And explodes, its model is reduced to 0 wounds, roll d6. On a 6, each unit within 6 inches suffers d3 mortal wounds. And it can transport 12 flash kits or clan infantry models. Each mega armored or jump pack counts as 2 models. It has Ork clan vehicle transport truck. So important, it is clan infantry. So the clan of the truck must match the clan of the models that are embarked. That's kind of important. So when are you going to use a truck? So truck's number one use is going to be protecting weaker units inside of it. Whether they be tank busters, ludas, some sort of shooting unit that you're going to want inside to give them a little more survivability. And of course, if their truck does get destroyed, you can always use loot it on them, give them either 5-up or 4-up if they're ludas. So that's one definite best use for the truck. The old man's missile where you put 3 mega knobs in a truck, still not a bad option. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still pretty good. So that's good use for the truck. The one thing that trucks probably are going to do the least or be the worst at is carrying 12 boys into combat. 12 boys used to be halfway decent in combat, but nowadays it's just not, especially with all the Overwatch and Overwatch benefits a lot of armies have. 12 boys, and there's just not enough attacks there to really do any damage, unfortunately. So, I mean, you can hypothetically, if you want to get your boys out of the truck, mob up a unit of 10 and a unit of 12. 2 units, and so yeah, have a unit of 10 in the truck, unit of 12 in the truck, mob them up, and then assault. That wouldn't be too horrible. But that's probably about the only time you want to use actual infantry model, actual boys in a truck. That's really, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about the truck. The truck, it really hasn't changed much. It's going to be a transport that carries 12 models. As far as clans go, obviously Evil Sons is going to be by far the best. Evil Sons with tank busters in it. That way you can move and advance, and the tank busters can still fire at full effect. And of course, the important thing to remember is that if models are inside the truck, you cannot use stratagem on them. So if they have ludas, you cannot use showing off on ludas inside, on bad moons ludas inside a truck. You can't use the grenade one on tank busters inside a truck. Stuff like that. If they're inside the transport, you can't use stratagems on them, which is the one downside to putting ludas in a truck. well, at least Bad Moon's loot is. But Evil Sun's, tank busters in a truck is really good because that gives you a lot of movement and still being able to fire at full effect. That's a very large threat range. And of course, trucks are really good at absorbing Overwatch. You get the boys out next to them, you send the truck into Overwatch to just absorb the Overwatch, and then send the boys in afterwards. That's going to be a great use for the truck almost every single time. But the truck suffers a little bit, just in the nature of 8th edition. Having to get out before you move really hurts these, because in the past you could move 24 inches that first turn, then move 12, get out and assault. So it was a guaranteed second turn assault no matter where your opponent was on the table. And 12 boys used to be a halfway decent threat. Now they're not so much of a threat, except for very, very few units. And trying to keep tanks tied up may not be a good thing, because a lot of tanks are going to have enough firepower to really decimate a unit of boys in Overwatch. So you got to be really careful, really, really careful if you're going to put boys in a truck. Yes, you could possibly put our boys in a truck, but that's 2 command points. It's not, And then as the truck goes up, you loot them. Now they have a 4-up armor save. It's something you can do, probably not a good use of points. So unfortunately, the truck has moved from its previous role of being a all-out assault vehicle to just being basically a mobile bunker, which is kind of a disappointment. So what they need to do is they really need the trucks to be able to move and then disembark and assault, just like the old days. If that could be a special, let's say, even if you took like a mortal wound after doing so, that would be fine or whatever. Just, they need to be faster. They're just not fast enough to do what you need to do with that. It's only 12-inch movements on the first turn. You're only getting 12 plus D6, or 14 plus D6 if you're Evil Sons. And compared to previous editions where it was 24 inches that first turn, that's nowhere near enough. Because now it's going to be very hard to get a second turn charge off, and by then it doesn't matter. It's far too late. So that's really all I gotta say about trucks. Definitely not what they used to be. Not bad. They're not bad. They are an awesome bunker, because toughness 6 with 10 wounds and a 4-up save is a lot better than toughness 4 with a 6-up save, no matter how you look at it. So they have to punch through those 10 wounds with a 4-up save at toughness 6 before they can get to the squishy orcs inside. So mobile bunkers, great. Fast assault transports, not so much. Let me know how you use your trucks below, and thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this episode of Talking About Orcs. Please subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications for new Talking About Orcs videos every Wednesday, new battle reports every Friday, and hobby videos whenever I can. Thanks for watching.